Okay.
All right, we can start. Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Foreign Correspondent Club of Japan. Today we are trying something new. We have a couple of speakers connected with us by Zoom from the remote island of Amami-Oshima in Kyushu, well, Kanazawa Prefecture, where something is happening since long time, but it seems that now has come to a final solution. We're talking about the attempt of the prefecture to concretize, to put a seawall of cement at one of the last beaches, contaminated beaches, original beaches of all Japan, the beach of Katoku. This is something that has been taken by foreign media already several times. UNESCO and IMCU are involved. We have from there Jean-Marc Takaki, who is a French-Japanese environmentist that decided to go and live there, and Tomoko Uchiyama, a painter, an artist, and a local citizen. We are going to talk to them pretty much soon, but before that, can you just say hello to us from there, Jean-Marc and Moko? Are you there?
Yes, we are here.
Okay, good. Now, we will introduce a couple of videos that you sent us that somehow introduces the issue, and then we will come back to you in about 6 minutes, and then we will start the press conference. Okay? Thank you very much. So, Can we see the videos now?
Katoku, Jurassic Beach, the last pristine bayside village. The island of Amami-Oshima was registered as a UNESCO World Natural Heritage Site in July 2021.
Ottawa.
I used to come to Japan every summer and really enjoy the beach when I was a kid, but now they're almost all gone, like this one in Karatsu. Or this one, for instance, in Amakusa, covered in concrete, with the waves crashing on the concrete, too dangerous. We can see here from this angle, there is no beach left, it's all concrete. Access is also problematic because now it's too dangerous to walk. and this still continues in 2021-22, and it's getting worse. Next is Kominato in Amami-Oshima. It's a typical transformation from having a white beach to absolutely nothing. Big seawall and a lot of tetrapods underneath. It's not even considered a beach. This is the Katoku River, the last free-flowing river in Amami according to the IUCN, and here it flows all the way to Katoku Bay. A site we don't see very much in Japan, access to the beach through the Pandan tree forest. Katoku Beach is also known as the only beach in Japan where a leatherback came to spawn. We've also been involved in community-led dune restoration project by planting pandanus trees. Katoku has a shifting river mouth, as we can see here, and this is a very important geomorphological process because it allows the formation of sandbars all along the beach. But it was sabotaged here, as we can see, with bulldozers, heavy equipment from 2012, 13 to 17, and the river was cut off to flow straight out to sea instead of flowing parallel to the dune and bringing sand to the north of the beach where the village is, the result of which was that the beach shrank and then a big typhoon came. A good example of this is in Mundaka, Spain, where river dredging caused the sandbar to collapse and the surfing contest to be cancelled, and a lawsuit too. Citizen Science, in collaboration with Coastal Research Lab of Tokyo, we do beach measurement, and which allows us to see how the beach profile changes over time. This is very important because now we can see that the dune has completely recovered. Actually, aerial pictures show that there isn't much change in the beach profile since 1946. The beach profile is actually very dynamic and can change very rapidly, as we can see here, within a period of 1 week. Here are some examples of symposium we held with Alex Kerr and Ito Shiori. Meanwhile, contractors for the seawall have been weakening the dune by chopping down the vegetation and cutting the trees, even removing sand, as we can see here. And removing sand actually on top of the pandanus we planted, and even spraying herbicides in an attempt to kill the pandanus we planted. These endless rows of concrete are waiting to be put on Katoku Beach. There are two sites, one in the middle of the World Heritage Core Zone, and sadly they even leveled a lot of rich habitat. They also leveled part of the dune without any warning, right on top of our house. We had to stage a peaceful protest to oppose the destruction of the dune. This was last year. A lot of people came, over 100 people came with signboards that everybody wrote their own message. But there's also peaceful resistance where we're trying to block the entry to the beach. This 3D representation really shows how massive this seawall is and the impact it could have on the Katoku River, which could flow along the seawall. And eventually this is what would happen. It's very typical. Tetrapods would have to be placed. So what's the point of a World Heritage that doesn't give World Heritage a function in the life of the community? The state parties should ensure that biological and cultural diversity, as well as ecosystem service and benefits for people that contribute to environmental sustainability, are protected and enhanced within World Heritage properties, their buffer zone, and their wider settings. This is from the World Heritage Convention.
Ready? Okay. While we try to connect back with Jean-Marc and Madame Uchiyama, let me just update. First of all, I think I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Pio D'Emilia. I'm a FCCJ moderator today. And I've been personally to that island recently, and I did report about that. So I know a little bit of the situation. Now, since the last few days, I would say, there has been a sudden development of the situation. We will hear from Jean about this, but basically, after several years of a standstill of official and unofficial negotiation, the prefecture workers have decided to force their entrance to the beach, and they started a very strong move to force the block, the non-violent block that the people there have set up, We will see some pictures, I hope, about this. And they are slowly forcing their way in. Now, do we have Jean connected now? Can we see him on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, okay, behind you, I can see the fence where a few days ago, the prefecture people and the company, construction works people tried to make their way in. What is the situation right now, Jean? Did they actually brought the bulldozers inside the beach, or were you still able to hold them?
Well, they brought the bulldozers. You can probably see the bulldozer here. It's inside this area. So they built those fences right to the edge of the river mouth. And the bulldozer is just inside those fences right now. So they were able to actually go through the gate and bring those a bulldozer and 10 iron plates, a few geotextile sandbags, because the plan here is to put about 30 really big geotextile sandbags and to culvert the Katoku River here, so that heavy equipment trucks can cross the river and start constructing right on the beach.
Our negotiation, well, let's call them negotiation. I'm sure you have something to tell us about the way these negotiations have been held until now, but are somehow negotiations still on, or do we expect them to force their way in and start working?
Actually, there is no negotiation because the prefecture has refused to negotiate or even to engage in talks. Our request for the last few years has been for a review of this project, and we sent several official requests demanding that this seawall be reviewed and that a new committee may be formed that involves local citizens, the local community, and also third-party experts, so that the best outcome can be decided for this place that was recently registered, inscribed in the buffer zone of the World Natural Heritage. For the simple reason that it's a very exceptional place, where you can see here the water is very, very clear, and there is a lot of the biodiversity here is very unique on this island. So the UNESCO, yes.
Okay, Jean, I have several questions coming from colleagues online. A couple of them are very similar. One is from Mara Bugen, is a freelance. I think you know her because she also interviewed you recently. And another one is from Dennis Normile of Science magazine. One of the questions is, did you contact the international organization like IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature, UNESCO, and as for the question of Dennis, he says that in the US, there is a trend to tear down existing dams, restore the natural flow of rivers, and separately restore beaches and dunes to protect against storm damage. Are there any ecologists in Japan that are supporting this position and suggesting to remove the dams and restoring beaches instead of building new seawalls? What can you tell us about this?
Well, actually, the recommendation from the IUCN to the state party Japan for Amami-Oshima, Tokunoshima, Iriomote-jima, and Okinawa is to have a river restoration strategy. So to remove useless dams, to remove useless river embankment, and to create more nature-friendly places around the rivers so that the biodiversity comes back around the rivers. So there is actually a recommendation, but so far as we can tell, especially in Amami-Oshima, we haven't seen any place where they've removed a dam or where they remove an embankment. But on the contrary, we see a lot of places where they're building new dams, doing new embankments, and even the Katoku seawall, because the construction is starting in the river mouth, and also because the seawall is very, very close to the shifting river mouth, because actually here, what's very special about this place is that the river mouth shifts and flows parallel to the dune and the berm. So in between the berm and the dune, and sometimes it can get very close to the dune. So if the current seawall is built in front of the dune, as it is planned, there's a high chance that the river will flow along the seawall with concrete underneath.
Okay,
So-
Jean, that is another question actually that I'm getting from Khaldun from Pan Orient News. How much this seawall would actually protect the island from a tsunami, if any?
So first of all, this is not a seawall built for a tsunami. It's not even a seawall built for high waves, in the sense that the dune here is actually a lot higher than the
I
seawall
see.
itself. But the problem with the seawall, it will still protrude from the beach because it will not be built on land or inland as claimed in the report that the state party sent to the IUCN. It will instead be built forward on the beach, and therefore it will protrude, and the concrete will be visible, but it will not protect at all anything from tsunami or even high waves, because the dune already has that function. It's a lot higher. Actually, the seawall is 6 meters high, while the dune at the lowest point is 8.3 meter, highest point 16.5 on the south side, and on the north end it's 13.5. So you can see even at the lowest point it's 2.5, 2.3 meter higher than the actual height of the seawall. So
Well, then
that's the
we
function.
go into a more specific and probably deep question from David McNeill of the Irish Times. Some believe that Japan construction state, useless dams, roads to nowhere, bridges with no traffic, was actually weakening in the last years, but it seems to have had a shot in the arm of the Tohoku disaster.
Exactly.
Because the seawalls have sprung up and across the northeast. Who, in your opinion, are the main beneficiaries of these construction works? Why do they continue their war against nature?
Well, yeah, I completely agree that when I first came to this island, it was in 2010, and I saw that a lot of construction business, the mining companies, the cement and the concrete companies had very old equipment, very old trucks, and I felt this industry was completely dying. And I was quite happy actually when I came here. I thought this industry would die. But after the 2011 tsunami, everything changed. Now, all these companies have new equipment. Everything is brand new and colorful. There's so many trucks, new trucks everywhere. So many cranes and so many bulldozers for rent everywhere. It's quite amazing, actually. There was a renaissance, really, of construction after the 2011 tsunami. So for me, it almost felt like a coup d'etat in Japan.
Yeah, but who do you think are the most beneficial? Of course, the politicians do the decisions, but you mentioned the fact that these people were totally in disarray a few years ago, but now they got a lot of new investments, new money. Don't you think that they also have their side? I mean, when I was there, I remember we talked to these people of the construction works, and they also said, look, we understand your position, but we also have to eat.
Oh, yeah, right.
And that's why, that's why you all also mention the fact that in the village, in the island, there is no total support for your battle. Actually, the majority of the people are for performing these works.
I wouldn't say the majority are for. Actually, I think there's more people that are against, but very, very few people that can express it openly, because so many people here work for the construction industry. Everybody has a relative, a friend, a brother, a cousin that works in construction. So even if they feel that this shouldn't be done, actually, I hear a lot of people saying, this is totally useless, it shouldn't be done. But very few people are willing to say that openly, for example, in front of a camera. There's very, very few people that are willing to talk openly about that.
Well, talking about very few people, I don't want to have Madame Uchiyama standing there without having a chance to talk. I'm sorry, although her case is a little bit a side one. We will come back to you, Jean, for other questions. But now I would like to ask Uchiyama-san, why is she involved in this battle? And also if she can briefly resume for us the case she has been a victim of a couple of days ago when she was hit, I believe, by some construction workers, and she tried to make a police todoke, I don't know in English, a report, police report to the police which was there, and the police refused to accept this report. Can you explain us what happened and if your injury has been cured at this point?
Okay, so
let her speak.
Doesn't understand English 100%, so I might have to translate the questions. So I'll say in Japanese. Did you understand? わかりました今の。
質問わかりましたね。はい。
質問わかりました。大丈夫です。OK。
まず
まずなぜこの活動に参加しだしたのかっていうことからね。で次はこの間起こった問題ね、そこのゲートのところで、それについてその被害届をしようとしたけど、それができなかったという話をちょっと聞かせてもらいたいんですけど。
まず私はこの活動に参加 しようと思ったのは、やっぱりここが特別な場所であるからというのが、自然のものしかないビーチというのはもうここが最後の場所、奄美大島でももしかしたら日本のすべてのビーチ、でやはりその貴重なところを何としても今止めなければ一度作ってしまったらすべてが崩れるという恐れから、とても急いで活動しなければいけないというふうに。
とりあえずそこまでお願いします。通訳。
So she got involved in this movement to save this place because she felt that this could be the last beach of its kind left in Japan, and that there was an urgency to get involved quickly because the construction was starting, and that if it was allowed to continue, once something is built, it can never go back to the way it was, and because this place could be the last also of its kind. Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Yes. 続けて。怪我を受けたとき。
はい、わかりました。
So about the injury, yes.
はい。10月27日、私は鹿児島県庁職員2名による暴行で全治2週間の怪我を負いました。
So on October
27.
Okay, on October 27, Moko-san suffered an injury due to violence from two prefecture officials who were doing a human barricade.
当日の様子を説明します。
She's going to explain the situation a little bit more.
午後1時40分過ぎ。
After 1:40 p.m.
まるで軍隊のように50人の男性が一塊に整列して、全員がヘルメットをかぶった装備をして突然行進して現れました。
So, over 50 prefecture employees came walking in a formation like the military. Yes, so yeah, go ahead. 次。
すぐさま彼らはそれぞれの配置につき始め、その20人以上がプラスチック製のフェンスを持って、その時私たち女性2人しかいなかった状態でどうすることもできなかった。
Out of these 50 people, 20 were carrying fences, plastic fences, and there were only 2 women keeping a watch. So there wasn't much that they could do with all these men.
そのフェンスを持って彼らがこのスペースを囲んでいくときに私たちに対して、彼らに私たちは説明を求めました。これから一体何をするのですかって。
So she asked these men that were carrying fences, what are you planning to do now?
はい。でも彼らは誰一人として私たちの問いに答えることがなく、聞こえていないふりをして無視をし続けました。
They pretended not to hear anything, and they kept going. They ignored them, basically.
そしてゲートの前には20人ほどが横に並び始めました。まさにプラスチックのフェンスをそれぞれに配っていた時だったので、私はその男性が2人立っている間をすり抜けてゲートの前に立とうとしました。
So there were 20 men that stood in front of the construction gate to block the construction gate, and they were being handed over some fences, some plastic fences. But Moko-san tried to, because there was an opening before those fences arrived, to go in between and to go in between the people standing there.
その私が身をかがめて彼らの間をくぐり抜けようとしたところ、両サイドの男性2人が私に言葉で何も説明をしないままいきなり私の体に掴みかかってきました。
So Moko-san tried to get through between two prefecture officials, and she was grabbed on both sides of her body. Okay, so
何も言葉による説明をしてくれなかった。
Okay, so sorry, I forgot to say that. And they didn't explain anything. They didn't answer the questions. They didn't explain anything, but they grabbed her.
でいきなり私の体を掴みかかって、一人は私の左腕、もう一人は私のバスト、右乳房をわしづかみにして握りつぶしました。
So one of them grabbed her left arm, and the other one grabbed her by her breast and crushed, hold it very, very strongly with the fingers, crushed in Japanese like a Hulk.
で痛い話してと叫ぶ私のことを無視をして、その男性は7秒から8秒の間、凄まじい力で私の乳房を握り続けた。
Due to the pain, she yelled that it hurts to let go, but one of the men kept grabbing her breast for 6, 7, 8 seconds and didn't let go.
そしてその掴んだまま私を下の方に引きずり倒したので、私は、バランスを崩して、 左の膝を地面にぶつけて出血をして倒れました。
And while one of the men was grabbing her breast, he pulled her towards the bottom, towards the floor, towards the road, and she fell on her knees and started. She injured her knee. She started bleeding from her knee on the road.
Okay, can you just go to the point where she went to the police, which was there with several people, and the police, I heard, refused to accept her report.
Okay, so 警察にそれを話しに行った時に警察はその被害届を受理できないっていう話をちょっとしてもらってもいいですかね。
警察官が駆けつけてきて、私にインタビューをした時に、現状を話したら、そのような状況では被害届が出せません。被害というふうには言えませんので、被害届は出すことができないという説明を受けました。
So when she went to talk to the police, they told her there was actually no the incident. There was no crime involved in this incident. So they denied her the right to do a victim complaint.
And since then, did she insist when she went home, or she just gave up?
それからもう一回もう一回しつこく行きましたかって
納得ができなかったのでもう一度ポリスを呼びました。
Yeah, she wasn't satisfied with the answer, so she called the police one more time.
そして同じ話をしたけれども、事件ではないとの一点張りでやはり被害というふうに受け取ってくれなかった。
Yeah, so she called the police one more time, and she was told practically the same thing, that they cannot consider it a crime incident, and therefore they deny her the right to file a victim complaint.
Okay, I see. Is she pursuing this again, or she just gave up at this point?
Yeah, you didn't give up. Give up してないよね。で、それがどうなった次。
加害者の方をインタビューした、刑事が、私の映っているビデオを確認してます。そしてそこには私の腕を掴んでいることが確認できていたとその、刑事は言ったのだけれども、次の日にもう一度警察に行った時にはその映像が何も映ってないというふうに事実をねじ曲げた。
So the first day, the incident happened and the police came on the spot, they told her, actually, we see somebody grabbing you on the surveillance camera. But the next day when she actually went to the police, they denied that there was anything shown on the surveillance camera. So they basically changed the story from we confirmed that you were grabbed to the camera surveillance doesn't show anything.
Okay, I understand. Well, it's a personal opinion, but something like that in other countries, including mine, wouldn't certainly constitute a crime, I'm afraid. But in Japan, this is very serious. Japan has a very strong policy against even the slightest pushing or physical attack, whatever it is. So I'm surprised that the police there didn't think to.
And one thing I'd like to add is that I came on the scene maybe 10 seconds after Moko-san had fallen down, and I didn't at first realize what was going on, but I was hearing she was on the road on her knees, and there were 20 men in front of her. And one of them was saying, "Don't touch me." No, you were on the floor from the beginning. You were from the beginning.
Jean, can you just try to move the camera so that we can see you now?
Okay, sure.
Okay, good. Talking about this case, I remember when we were there, you told us that you also have been somehow victim of a death threat from some local citizen there. Can you very briefly tell us? Are you scared about this? Are you worried?
Well, we are always worried about, for instance, we don't leave the village very much because we don't want to leave our house unattended because we have animals at home, and we're always scared of sabotage, of getting something broken, even of getting our house on fire. We're also scared because our car is orange, and you know, it doesn't blend in.
Medatsu.
Right. So when we go somewhere, of course, when we parked somewhere, I'm always worried that we might get our tires punctured, because we got our tires punctured actually here in the village, in the garden. So, yes. So you wanted me to explain what happened?
Well, very, very briefly, you were, stopped by a guy and with a machete that pointed machete at you, right?
Yeah, so this was in the village. Actually, I was walking back to the house from the village, inside the village, and a villager who works for one of the company contracted for the seawall, who's of course a strong proponent of the seawall, accosted me and yelled something like, "I'm gonna kill you!" And he opened his car, the back door of his car, very violently, and he pulled a big sickle and swung it towards my head. So I didn't have time to react because I really didn't know what was coming my way. And afterwards, he kept talking to me with the blade of his sickle right in front of my eyes. At that point, I wasn't too scared. I was especially scared when he opened his car door, and I didn't know if it was gonna be a knife, a shotgun. At that point I didn't know. But we've been constantly harassed since then, and we didn't do any victim report for 6 months because we felt that, well, this is in Japan. If you do a victim report in a small community, it becomes even harder. Your life becomes even harder sometimes. So we didn't do a victim report until we had enough after 6 months. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Before going on, let me apologize for a mistake I did at the beginning. And I'm very thankful to Catherine Wortley that sent us a message online. At the beginning, when I introduced Amami-Oshima, I said from Kanagawa Prefecture. It's Kagoshima Prefecture.
Right.
So sorry about that, everybody. I have another question online from Khaldun, Pan Orient News. Amami-Oshima is a very, very famous and place where many tourists, domestic and foreigners, are interested to go. Do you think that this concretization of the last beach would have a negative impact on tourism? Because Japanese people and foreigners are looking for something natural. When they go to the sea, they don't want to see seawalls.
Of course. I'll ask also Moko for her opinion. But yeah, personally, being half French and having seen some pretty exceptional beach also in France, there's actually only one beach in France that has a free-flowing river from the source all the way to the ocean. It's called the Moliatema. It's in the Atlantic coast. And so Amami is like a sister village to Moliatema, I would say. And and that place in France is very famous. It's actually a national park and very, very well protected. And I really think with inbound tourism, now that Amami-Oshima is a World Natural Heritage Site, I met a lot of foreigners here that came here specifically actually to see this place because they saw it on YouTube in a documentary about this issue. I even met people who came back again because they missed this place because it's not on the tourist pamphlet. It's not even on the the, viewpoints, on the maps of the viewpoints. So a lot of people actually who come here miss this place, but I would say that definitely for people who love nature and the outdoor, this is the kind of place that add a lot of value. I think that makes Amami-Oshima an attractive place, because a lot of other places are becoming like theme parks.
Jean, I have another question from Mara Bagen, freelance. You have been battling the seawall for some 7 years by now, and you do have obtained some important successes, but the project hasn't been stopped, and as we see, they are actually going through. In your opinion, who needs to intervene right now, or what needs to happen for the Kagoshima and Setouchi mayor to stop building the seawall?
Well, I think, for the Setouchi mayor or for the prefecture, for the governor, it's not going to come from within the decision to stop the seawall, because I don't think they have the capacity really to value this kind of place. I mean, that's a judgment call on my part, but I don't think this would be happening if they understood the value that these kind of places truly have. So I would say at this point, there's a lot of violation of, for instance, the World Heritage Convention. The way this project is proceeding violates a lot of rules of the World Heritage Convention. And also the promise that they made, the condition upon which this island was registered as a World Heritage Site. The condition was that they wouldn't touch the river, the Katoku River, and that they wouldn't start building close to the Katoku River. But the fact is, they're trying to culvert the river right now, and this is what we're trying to block. They're trying to block the river, culvert the river with concrete. So this is already, this would be a complete violation of the conditions. And beyond that, there's also the fact that some of the reports that were sent by the State Party Japan to the IUCN were full of disinformation, I would say lies of omission and even lies of commission. For instance, the report says, the State Party's report says that the seawall will be built inland side or on land, which means inside the dune, behind the dune. But the fact is, it's actually in front of the dune in a very dynamic part of the beach. So in the kind of place where if you build a seawall, it really affects the beach, because the waves always, during storms, always reach that area and would rebound on the seawall. There's also lies about the proximity to the river, because now they have to go through the river to build the seawall. And the fact they didn't mention that the Katoku River is a shifting river. There's a shifting river mouth that can go from the south of the bay to the north of the bay. And they failed to mention that. And most importantly, they sent a picture, the State Party sent a picture from 2015 showing a beach cliff. After the erosion of 2014, there was a beach cliff. They sent a picture from that period, and they wrote exactly like this. The situation is still ongoing, to show that there was an urgency to build a seawall to protect life and property, when in fact, when they sent the report in February 2020, there was at least 4 meters of sand thickness that had formed from the previous state that shows a beach cliff. So that's probably the most damning evidence that they try to show a sense of urgency to build a seawall when there was actually none at all when they sent those reports. So I would hope that the IUCN, especially UNESCO, understands that the World Heritage of Amami-Oshima was registered under false, how to say, under
Statements.
false, statements. So
okay, John, I understand that you are also resisting and suing this operation through the courts in Kagoshima Prefecture.
Right.
What happened in case, this is another question from Mara Bergen, if you win the court case, but the wall has been mostly or entirely built, what could happen?
Well,
the construction workers would make even more money because they have to destroy it.
Well, at that point, I think also probably the UNESCO, the IUCN would probably get involved too if the court case is won. The thing about Japan, as you also probably know, there aren't many environmental cases that have been won. And in the case that it is won, I believe the prefecture of Kagoshima has to give back the money that they received to build this seawall. So they will be losing money, actually, which is something they definitely don't want to happen.
Yeah. This brings me to a wider question. Actually, the question is from, again, Dennis Normail, Science. And I would like to pose this question to Madame Uchiyama, if she wants to answer. It's a more philosophical, general question. This mindset of Japan is very common. What will it take to reorient this mindset to at least more interest in the natural environment? Let me put it more, bluntly. I mean, Japan is known for her special relation with nature, with Shintoism and all this history, legendary history of harmony with nature and really special relationship. How come the Japanese are able to engage this long war with the nature and still be so cruel against it?
全部がちょっと理解できなかったんだけど。
So, その今日本人が、このマインドセットね、こういう、自然に対して、何がこういうなんていうのかね自然に対してこういう残酷なことを、できるのかってでそれを、変えるためには、何が必要なのかねって。That was the question. What would be needed to change
this?
Yes,
basically, yes.
Right.
本来日本人はとても自然と調和した美意識を持っていたと思うのね。で、それは、例えばガーデンを作るにしてもナチュラルなストーンを置いて、要するに自然のものを美しいというふうに感じる心があるのは今でも同じと思うんですけど、それと
One second. So yeah, the Japanese have traditionally been still have this understanding that for instance if you look at the way they make the gardens, the Japanese gardens, the way they use rocks, they have this sense of aesthetics for the harmoniousness of nature.
そうなのに、住んでいるところ、今暮らしているところをコンクリートで固めることが安全だという間違いを持ってる。
Yeah, so they have this misconception that to harden something, their entourage with concrete will protect them.
というのが、特に奄美大島では台風のたびに昔から被害を受けている、これは当たり前のことだったのに、今の人々の考えは、家もコンクリートであれば安全。だから、すべてをコンクリートで固めるのは安心というふうに勘違いをしている。
Yeah, so it was normal in the past to suffer from some damage from typhoons. Now, with the use of concrete, people feel that if their house is all made in concrete, they will be protected. So there is this trend to want to have everything in concrete to feel safe.
In your introduction, Jean, you mentioned several people who visited you, including Alex Kerr, who is a very famous writer here in Japan, for those who are interested in Japan.
Right.
I remember, I met him several times, but I remember he once mentioned that this trend, this mindset, is not very the traditional of Japan. It's all the last centuries. He mentioned from the Tokugawa era, before the relationship between Japan and the nature was much more harmonious, less violent, I would say. So is there any chance, in your opinion, that this mindset could go back? Everywhere in the world, we just heard from Dennis and other colleagues that, and I myself, I can say that in Europe, we do have a very strong consciousness about the fact that we have to make a truce with nature, at least a truce, if not peace. What do you think? Would you think this is possible in Japan, sooner or later?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think Japan can keep going in this direction forever. But at the same time, I have the feeling also that they could destroy a lot more before they realize that they've almost lost everything until there's a reversal. But however, while we're doing this, this little movement here, we realize that there are a lot of people who actually really care for the environment. Of course, most people who come here really care for the environment. So I really feel that there's hope. There are a lot of intelligent people who understand the value of these kind of places. But it's true that overall, I would say the environmental consciousness of Japanese people, I would say, is pretty low. And I would say in the country, ironically in the country, in rural Japan, I would say it's even lower than in the cities somehow. Probably because also, as Alex Kerr mentioned in his book, Lost Japan, most people start to work in construction. And I think when you spend your whole day destroying the environment, it becomes normal to do it. So I think that's one of the big issue with rural Japan is it's all these pork barrel public works project. If that could stop, I think, or there could be new industries, or maybe via tourism in rural Japan. I really think there needs to be an alternative to public works project. So,
yes, Jean, we have another question from Khaldun, Pan Orient News, who was online until now, but he miraculously appeared in person here. So please listen to his question online.
Thank you very much for coming again to our press conferences. We follow the issue extensively, and I think you talk about everything. I would like to move a little bit toward the military aspects. Do you think that your island is suffering because of the...
Khaldun, move to the camera, please.
Sorry, okay. So do you think that the tension with China and the dispute over the islands might impact your island somehow? And do you think Japan is making these seawalls as a first step to boost the military establishment in this island, Amami Island? Thank you.
Well, there are some people who believe that, but this is not the ideal place, I would say, to create, like, for instance, a military port of any kind. For the simple reason that the bay here is not so deep. It's sandy, and there are better places. Actually, for instance, I read a report from 1946 by a U.S. military personnel that this area here, especially Konya between Kakeroma and Konya, it's actually south of here, was the best place in the Ryukyu to build a U.S. military port. That was a report that I read from 1946.
Yeah, but they give up, right?
Well, the Americans left, right? They left, but they were saying that compared to, for instance, Okinawa, there was a lot more potential here for a military port because it's a natural port. You don't even need to build a port, and the boats are already safe.
Well, Jean, may I ask you, talking about this military situation, when we were there, you mentioned that there are also, well, not rumors, it's a fact apparently, that in Amami-Oshima there is a ground defense base, Japanese GTI base, where for the first time they are storing missiles that are aimed at China. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, actually, it's I guess the first place, isn't it, where they have ballistic missiles, mid-range ballistic missiles, and actually in the mountains here, on this side, behind this mountain, they are building tunnels, ammunition tunnels, to store all kind of weapons. And these, I heard, I don't know if it's true, might become some of the biggest ammunition storage facilities in Japan.
I see. Well, we are running out of time, Jean Uchiyama-san. Thank you very much. May I ask you just one last, well, Uchiyama-san, we understand that she's local, so she's naturally interested in that. But may I ask you a personal question, Jean? You're French, and as you mentioned, in Europe, including France, we do have a lot of issues like this. Why did you choose to come all the way here to Amami-Oshima instead of fighting, I don't know, in Marseille or Côte d'Azur or whatever in France or in Europe?
Well, I didn't come here to fight. I actually came here to live peacefully, but I ended up running right into what I was running away from. But the difference, for instance, with France, when there's an issue like this, usually after 1 week, there's a Facebook page with 7,000 people who follow the page. There's a committee that is formed. And before you even know or lift a finger, there are thousands of people already involved. And in a lot of cases in France, I never had to get involved in anything. And a lot of issues were getting resolved by other people. But in Japan, I realized that actually nobody was moving a finger. So I had to do it. And that's why I'm doing it, because nobody to do the first step. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you very much, Uchiyama-san, Moko-san. Thank you, Jean.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us.
So today, I understand there is no workers and Ken people and prefecture people coming in, right? I can see there are no...
Yeah, there is,
Okay.
There would be a lot more noise otherwise coming from over there. Yeah.
All right. Well, as you know, FCCJ is always ready to, to welcome you if there are some sudden and especially controversial movements. So thank you very much for today. Thank you everybody for
Hello.
attending this. Hello.
And this is my picture, my works.
Okay.
So,
Because you are a painter in your own. Yes. Thank you very much. We hope to see more of that landscapes than bulldozers on these beaches.
Definitely. We'll try to keep it as it is.
Thank you. Thank you,
you.
Jean. Thank you, Moko-san.
と海と空は全部つながっていなければいけない。
Yeah, so she's saying that this represents the connectivity, the connection between the ocean, the land and the clouds and the sky, that everything is just one. And that's what it represents.
Okay. Thank you very much. And
Thank you very much. Yeah.
keep
Thank
it
you.
up with your fight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We end it here.